Oh, welcome everybody. This is Boss Battle Quarterway Recap. My name is Goron1988, and I am here with, well,
Yep. There was a cutoff there.
oh, well, it sounded fine on the other thing, but I am here with, oh
Well,
boy.
it's too late anyway.
Yeah, I'm here with Inquisitor Cat, and yeah. So, how are you, Inquisitor Cat?
Uh, it, it's it's been a very tiring weekend.
Mm. Definitely. A lot of things have been happening with me as well, so it definitely has, but it's just going to be good to go through all these bosses ourselves and see, just give a recap of what's happening. There will be spoilers in this sort of thing, so, of the battles that actually happened in the past. So watch out for that. Don't watch it if you are worried about spoilers, or watch everything before and then watch this one. But yeah, well, just to uh, just to start things off though, with a very simple thing, just chatting in general. Kat, has this boss battle changed your opinion of the bosses? How we've been discussing them, what we've been thinking about them, that sort of thing. Has it given you some new insights actually thinking about it?
Well, it has changed my mood over not fully the opinion, but like the overall just the quick feeling and mood I have towards certain bosses,
Yeah.
which I was surprised about.
Definitely for me, just starting about my feelings about Goma, for instance. It wasn't the actual boss battle proper that did it, but it was when we were thinking about the stats related to Goma that I just thought, wait a second, Goma is, uh, Goma's a lot better than I always give Goma credit for. And that's happened with a few more. It's been interesting to see, what Bongo Bongo can do, what Bongo Bongo has literally done, as well as thinking about the abilities of Phantom Ganon, for instance. So, you know, that's sort of been my sort of point on it. Um, yeah. Well, okay. Before we get into it, is there anything more you want to say, Kat? Or
Uh, Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
yep. Okay. Then let's go into it. So Goma. Goma in the first 11 fights that we have seen has had one win, zero draws, and one loss. Um, I mean, Goma, she herself has a very high intelligence stat, as we've talked about before. And I'm guessing that Goma will get a few more wins under her belt. We'll just have to see because we haven't thought through clearly everything. We do it before every single boss battle, and we try to make sure that it's balanced. What do you think, Kat, about Goma going forward and the battles Goma has had so far?
Like Goma's abilities and stats are good. It's just we seen one of the hardest matchups directly stat wise and abilities wise looking
Yeah.
without noticing the obvious, which I will not name.
Yes, of course. So we'll move on to King Dodongo here. Two losses for King Dodongo. It's I mean, when I first thought of King Dodongo, and I know this is a bit tangential, I thought that King Dodongo was very powerful, could possibly beat every boss, was possibly my first thought on everything when I was first playing all of this. Definitely not now, but two losses. in all fairness, King Dodongo hasn't had a chance, but a lot of what King Dodongo has is just that raw power there, and I'm worried a lot of bosses will be able to use their intelligence to get around King Dodongo, so King Dodongo might keep up this losing streak, in my opinion. What are your thoughts, Kat?
I do agree. Like, just brute force on its own is usually not good enough for much.
Mm,
If we would be having like more broader look into things like bosses versus different game franchises, Dodongo would have a lot going for them. But since we are only looking at bosses from this specific series, from this specific game, it of course puts things into a certain perspective.
yeah. Okay. So going on to Baronade. One win, one draw, two losses. Baronade has, well, Intelligence F effectively. Baronade has a lot of abilities going for it, but I can't see Baronade putting out a few wins in future. And yeah, Baronade's had a good amount of matchups by now that I think this is typical for Baronade now. What's your opinion?
I do agree with it. Like the intelligence F is a huge deficit. I can give a spoiler of the manner that if Baronade's intelligence would be higher, I would see that Baronade would be winning many fights.
Yes, that is the one stat that is really holding back Baronade here. If Baronade's intelligence was, even C rank or B rank, then we're talking beating probably 2/3 of the competition here. It's just that low intelligence, meaning that Baronade has the tools, but doesn't use them correctly, effectively. So yeah, okay. Well, we'll move on again. Phantom Ganon. One win under Phantom Ganon's belt. I believe this is unproven. Effectively, Phantom Ganon hasn't had enough matchups for us to really see the worth that he has. I think Phantom Ganon has some of the greatest abilities, compared to all of the bosses, and should go quite far, really. What's your thoughts, Kat?
Yeah, indeed, Phantom Cannon should be going far. And a fun fact, which I don't remember have I mentioned it in any other episode, is that Phantom Cannon has game mechanically one of the strongest attacks in the entire game.
Yeah.
But that's game mechanically, but it still goes into the lore aspects as well.
Mm,
So
yes. Well, definitely. So, yeah. And again, I'll go a bit tangential here, but just looking at how that win, was Phantom Ganon got that win, I am so looking forward to all the next Phantom Ganon fights. Like that high intelligence and the abilities that Phantom Ganon has can be used in so many unique ways.
indeed.
Indeed. Good. So let's move on to Volvagia. 2 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. I think that Volvagia has not come up against some of the tougher opponents on the roster. Has definitely come up against opponents that gave some hassle, so those wins weren't, completely freely earned. But I can see a few losses on Volvagia's belt. I can also see a few wins. So, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, well, Vakia has a lot going for it. Like, just the free flying alone is a very strong ability.
Yes. To clarify, Volvagia has the highest mobility in our boss battle group. That is mobility S. I believe we might have given that to Undestin Ganondorf as well. but I need to double check on that. But yeah, Volvagia with mobility S, with that flame breath, definitely a big threat here. There are other bosses that do come to mind, though, that should be slightly more powerful than Volvagia, in my opinion. We'll just have to see, and we'll just have to work it out, really. Okay, so on to Dark Link. Now, I'm just going to say my personal opinion on this for a while. We brought Dark Link into this just because of how interesting the fights themselves would be to have these mirror matches. Because Dark Link becomes Dark Goma, Dark Dodongo, Dark Baronade, all of that. But it doesn't really seem as though Dark Link can get a single win here. And I don't see Dark Link getting a single win either. I mean, we'll have to be thinking about it and we'll have to consider everything, but yeah, what do you think, Kat?
Yeah, again, like the issue with the Dark Link is that Dark Link is very powerful and strong, but since it's a reflection of whatever it's facing, it really gets nerfed for the selection of the other bosses. Again, if we would put them into another franchise versus their bosses, I would see a lot more wins. It's just the darkness itself is hard to hard to be defeated by a dark being without
Yeah,
going into more spoilery details.
yeah. So moving on to Morpha. Um, one draw, one loss for Morpha. I mean, Morpha is an interesting boss, but sadly, a lot of what Morpha can do can be countered, and Morpha has that intelligence F stat that isn't affected by any other powers that Morpha has. Dark Link, at the very least, gets kind of some intelligence from Doppelganger, just going back to that for a second, but Morpha just has no ability to use the powers that they have, and doesn't have that many powers, to be honest with you. I see it looking quite bad for Morpha in any upcoming fight. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, I see more for being the audience favorite that everybody cheers but never gets anywhere. So somebody will donate more for a bicycle any moment now.
Definitely. So we'll go on to Bongo Bongo. Now, again, personally, before thinking about Bongo Bongo's abilities, I wouldn't have thought Bongo Bongo was this strong, but 3 wins on Bongo Bongo's belt. Maybe not the toughest of opponents that Bongo Bongo has faced, but definitely a big range of them. I think Bongo Bongo is going to definitely get a ton more wins. And apart from one possibility, might just take all of this. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, Bongo Bongo is very like even if we would remove like power at a time from Bongo Bongo, there is still so much to him that he would most likely still be able to go through most of the matches in a very good manner. But this is
Mm,
having all of its abilities. Yeah, we are talking about a very strong package here.
yeah, definitely. That invisibility, that darkness affinity A, basically one of the highest dark affinities that, we've got here. Only Ganon could probably give a higher darkness affinity. I need to check the stats that we gave, but I think it is only Ganon, really. Bongo Bongo just outclasses a lot of other bosses, especially due to the fact that a lot of bosses have darkness affinity. So Bongo Bongo just says, well, I can do what you do, but one better. Um,
Indeed.
but yeah. on to Twin Rover. 0 wins, 0 draws, 1 loss. Twin Rover is definitely an interesting boss, has a high intelligence, has a high mobility. I mean, Twin Rover was just a bit unlucky with this one matchup. I can see quite a few wins going Twin Rover's way. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going for here for both of them. We've got fire magic, ice magic. They should be proficient in nearly all kinds of magic effectively. And their mobility means they can run away from a lot of attacks. Their intelligence means they know what attacks to use. This, yeah, they can go quite far, really. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, the Twin Rover out of the entire selection of the bosses have the biggest arsenal at their display.
Hmm.
Like there's so many tricks they can pull out and do. It just you are very much correct that just the one match we have seen was the well almost the worst possibility of the matches that are in the list.
Yes, definitely. So now we'll go for Ganon. 1 win, 0 draws, 0 losses. It's Ganon, everybody. I'll give it to you now, Kat. Because that's all I need to say.
And all I need to say is Destiny.
Yeah. So,
Nothing can beat Destiny. Like the series resolves all around that fact.
mm, there is one interesting matchup we're still looking for. I'm not going to spoil it. But, yeah, Ganon's just got that power, got that destiny, got a good mobility, got good intelligence. There's no way that I can see Ganon losing to any of them, honestly. But we will just have to see. And the reason, because of that, we've actually had one more that we put with Ganon, which is our Undestined Ganondorf, which is at the same 1 win, 0 draws, 0 losses. So Undestined Ganondorf effectively is Ganondorf that's, not destined to have the Triforce of Power, and is just Ganondorf with Ganondorf's arsenal, effectively. So, because of that, there aren't these boosts, they aren't this destiny that Ganondorf has. I am wondering, Undestined Ganondorf is good with regards to his mobility, with regards to his attacks, but still, not completely flawless. Will we see a loss from Undestined Ganondorf?
Without spoiling it, I would say that most likely we're gonna see, but not gonna say how many or at what possibility that loss would be at.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that's effectively it. We'll move it back to this. This is the quarterway recap. I mean, there are a few things we can talk about. Have you been enjoying it so far, Kat?
Like I have been enjoying that. Like I have had a excuse to go into like random locations and for lore of the game and series on its own, which I haven't done in a long while. Like every excuse to make me research lore is always appreciated.
Yes, definitely. I'd say I've definitely enjoyed it. You've given us some great insights on everything, and it's been brilliant having you here, Kat. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of what else to say on this. I mean, for me personally, again, just saying personal stuff, it's amazing that we've gotten to a quarter. I mean, I'm not saying that we would have stopped or anything, but it's always interesting to see, 11 episodes, on the belt effectively, and actually done, and go, wait, there's only 3/4 of this left.
Yeah, like the numbers always look way more daunting ahead than behind.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything more I sort of want to say on this? I mean, like I said before, I think we're good because we've had some really good battles, we've had some really bad battles, we've had a good mixture. It would have been bad if our favorite battles would have happened just at the start of this quarter, personally, because we have been talking about it. So, we've got quite a few good battles in the future, really. And
Yeah, I've been enjoying that we have so far had, in essence, a good luck with the randomization because I've seen similar types of series where the RNG just says that you are just gonna see this one all the way through and then just the rest.
yes, definitely. And it may have seemed that way with this at the start. Also, to clarify for anybody who hasn't seen the reveals we use a roulette wheel in order to determine the matchups. And we started with 45 matchups, we've now got 34. Yeah, well, I have nothing else to say. I really enjoyed this, and I'm gonna keep going with it, and we'll we'll be here for all the episodes and then the halfway recap. So that should definitely be very good. Do you have any more thoughts? Is there anything more you want to say, Kat?